No one thought quiet Mia could stand up for herself, especially not like that, and certainly not in front of everyone. But when Jake Carter and Logan Hayes trapped her near the old library at Crestwood Heights Academy, a well-known private school nestled in the rolling hills of Vermont, they believed they had the upper hand. Confident, spoiled, and used to getting away with anything, they pushed their luck too far. They had no idea they were about to meet their match. "You don't fit in here," was the whispered message every time Mia passed through the marble halls of Crestwood Heights. She was often the only girl of color in her classes, her voice sometimes feeling too loud in the quiet rooms. This school wasn't just about grades or money. It was a place built on exclusivity and old traditions. Jake and Logan ruled the campus with their good looks, charm, and the powerful influence of their wealthy families. Their fathers owned major businesses in town, donating to the school to keep their sons untouchable. That afternoon, the sky was gray, matching the cold stone courtyard where Mia stood. Her deep caramel skin glowed softly under the dull light, and her braided hair framed her calm face. Her uniform was spotless, but it didn't protect her from the stares or the sneers. Logan kicked a crumpled soda can near her feet, smirking. "Hey, charity case. What's it like being the school charity?" Jake stepped forward, voice icy. "A small-town girl among the elite. How'd you get in here anyway?" Mia said nothing, and that silence bothered them more than any argument. They didn't know her story, not how her mother worked 2 jobs just to cover what the scholarship didn't, nor how her father, a retired firefighter, taught her to never back down. They didn't know she'd spent years training in martial arts, not to pick fights, but to be ready for moments exactly like this. Jake leaned in, daring her to speak. Mia looked down at his polished shoes and smiled faintly. "Tell me," she said softly, "how's your dad's approval compared to your test scores?" The crowd gasped, the courtyard went quiet, and Jake's smirk faded just as Mr. Benson, a young history teacher, passed by. He muttered something but kept walking, never stepping in. The bullying didn't stop. Mia's locker was defaced. She got fake messages from a boy who laughed at her when she replied, and overheard slurs disguised as jokes while teachers turned a blind eye. Through it all, she stayed steady, waiting for the moment when she couldn't hold back anymore. That moment came on a hot Friday afternoon. Most students had left for the weekend, and the field smelled of fresh-cut grass and sweat. Mia was under the bleachers grabbing her bag when shadows moved. Jake stood to her right, Logan to her left, no one else around. Logan's grin was arrogant. "We thought we'd finish what we started." Mia didn't reply. Jake's voice dropped, angry and sharp. "You think you're better than us?" Logan leaned in. "Time to teach you a lesson." Jake reached for her arm. That was their mistake. In one smooth move, Mia twisted his wrist and flipped him to the ground. Logan blinked, confused, before lunging at her. Mia sidestepped, kicked his knee, and sent him crashing beside Jake. 7 seconds. That was all it took. Phones clicked open. Students began recording from a distance, some from the steps nearby. Mia stood over them, breathing steady, voice calm. "You picked the wrong girl." Security arrived minutes later, confused, but by then the video was already spreading online. By midnight, it had hundreds of thousands of views. By morning, it was everywhere. News sites, talk shows, social media buzzing with her name. Mia James wasn't just a story of self-defense. She became a symbol, not because she wanted the attention, but because the truth had been ignored for too long. She wasn't the first student of color at Crestwood to face this kind of harassment, but she was the first to stop it in a way no one could overlook. That morning, she sat in the principal's office. Principal Douglas shuffled papers nervously, avoiding her eyes. "If you'd reported this sooner." "I did," Mia said flat. At home, her dad watched the video again and again, never cheering or scolding. "You did what you trained for," he said quietly. Her mom kissed her forehead. "You stayed calm. That's what counts." The next day, the school felt different. News vans lined the entrance. Reporters spoke in hushed tones about Crestwood's hidden history of racial bullying, long buried beneath the school's polished image. Inside, whispers followed Mia, but they were different now. Not pity or hate, but respect. She was called to a meeting with the school board. For men in sharp suits, and one woman with pearl earrings sat stiffly at the table. Principal Douglas was there, along with Mia's father, steady and proud. "Why don't you start?" a board member said. Mia's father spoke sharply. "Let's be honest. You let privileged kids torment my daughter. You're only here now because she defended herself better than you ever did." Mia stayed silent. She didn't have to say more. Jake and Logan were suspended indefinitely. Their parents tried to downplay everything, calling it a misunderstanding. But the video told the truth: sneers, threats, and the fight. Social media refused to let the story die. Mia became a trending topic. Celebrities shared the clip, and a senator tweeted, "Courage isn't always loud. Sometimes it's the quiet that breaks open the truth." Proud of you, Mia. But inside the school, not everyone supported her. Some whispered she made them look bad, accused her of bringing up race where it didn't belong. That's when someone unexpected spoke up. Isabel Kim, class president and daughter of a tech CEO, stood in the middle of AP government class. "You blame Mia for showing the truth," she said. "But she didn't bring racism here. She made it impossible to ignore. If you're uncomfortable, ask yourself why it took a fight for you to notice." The room fell silent. Mia blinked in surprise. Isabel nodded once and sat down. The school held an emergency assembly. Mia didn't want to speak, but that night her father told her, "Leadership isn't about being loud. It's about showing up, even if your voice shakes." She took the microphone. Her voice was steady, even if quiet. "For months, I was mocked, cornered, and ignored. You saw it, but most of you saw it too late. I didn't want to fight. I just wanted to learn. But when no one protected me, I had to protect myself. What you saw in that video wasn't power. It was survival." The auditorium was silent. No applause, no cheers, just the weight of truth. A week later, a journalist exposed years of ignored complaints from other students of color. One transfer student had recorded more than 30 racist incidents. Another left school after being mocked for her accent. None were ever addressed, until now. The entire board resigned. New leadership came in. A diversity task force was created. Mandatory bias training launched. The school apologized publicly. Mia didn't want fame or headlines. She wanted change. And finally, that change had begun. Walking through the courtyard where Jake once stood, a younger student, shy and dark-skinned, ran up to her. "I saw the video," she whispered. "I'm not scared anymore." Mia smiled, realizing she hadn't just survived. She had made room for others to stand tall. That night, in her room, she watched her speech again. It had over 2 million views. Then a message popped up: "Harvard Youth Leadership Conference. You've been selected." She smiled softly. They didn't see her as a threat anymore. They saw her for what she truly was: a leader. And for anyone who doubted her, they learned the hard way.